Welcome in, I'm Dirt Farmer. This is our family farm here in Montana. And to start things off this week, we're actually going to be cleaning a little bit of some wheat. Well, we got the back hopper empty, onto the front hopper. And this is why it'd be nice to have another set of eyes out here, because I was trying to mess with the semi, except our handle's on the other side. I couldn't see what's going on. And then all of a sudden I have wheat coming out of the belt and plugging up and going over this and on the ground, and just a giant mess. So we decided we didn't have enough stuff sitting there, so we also set up an auger in the bin too. And on the other side of the farm here, the uncle ran to town this morning and got some feed for the steers, because we're gonna start fattening them up and getting them ready for butcher. Quick and simple rundown of how this thing works. So we have just our normal wheat that we harvested this last year in the semi. It's going in the conveyor. It's getting dumped in the top of the cleaner. And here you can see all the dirty stuff going into the cleaner there. We have a lot of straw and bugs and other kind of garbage in here. And then it starts its journey through the cleaner here. And this is actually a scalper type cleaner, so it's scalping the wheat is what they call it. We're at the back here now. So what happens when it first comes through is it actually gets hit with some air. So on top we actually have a big blower fan. So it's blowing all the light stuff out. That's what that little silver thing on the side is actually the air blower. And then it actually starts the scalping process. So we got these two bigger scalpers right here. And then once it goes through those ones, it gets scalped again on these bottom ones. And then these are actually the clean ones on the left and right side. But the middle is actually dirty still. And it's getting cleaned again like a second time type of thing. But after the clean wheat makes it to this point, it goes up this little auger and into the clean truck, and then after that into the big auger and into that blue hopper bottom bin we got. But then if we look at our clean grain truck here, we can see this stuff is just about spotless. There is a couple little pieces of stuff that make it through. But this is way cheaper than paying $1.50 per bushel to have it cleaned. But this second little auger here is actually for our tailings, so like the dirty stuff that we could clean again if we want to. You can see it's just all kinds of random junk in there. And there's not a whole lot of that either, so just a little pile we got compared to all the clean stuff we have. Well, we're cruising right along with the seed cleaning here, but hopefully we get done with this before it starts raining or snowing. Today's job isn't too bad, it's just a lot of keeping an eye on things. But since our grain cleaner here has such a tiny little hopper on it, I'm constantly running up and down that ladder. That way I can adjust how fast we're actually unloading stuff, because it's pretty easy to accidentally overfill this thing like I did earlier today. So I bet by the time we're done, my legs are going to be very sore. Not too bad of a Monday. We had a couple issues, but by the end of the day, we have 1,000 bushels of clean spring wheat sitting in that blue hopper bottom bin, and everything's getting cleaned out, kind of ready to end the day. And actually, we'll see here, if the wind dies down a little bit, I'm actually going to maybe go out and do a little fertilizing spreading to end the day off, because it'd be nice to get that stuff done before it snows again. And if you guys are wondering why we're cleaning the auger out, that's because we don't want any wheat in with our fertilizer, because that's going to be the next thing. Is we do have a couple loads of fertilizer coming. And yeah, if we have the wheat in the fertilizer, then we can have wheat in pretty much every single crop we're seeding. So yeah, we don't want to have wheat in with our mustard and our peas and all the other crops we seed as well. Well, it's about 6 o'clock, but this field's pretty dry and the wind's dying down, so I think we're gonna get a little bit of some spreading done to end off our Monday here. Well, so much for our spreading plan. So as soon as I got out here, I turned the spreader discs on, and one of them is not working, so I'm gonna have to get that fixed now. So what happened with this thing was our little sprocket actually cracked there. You can see it just kind of cracked right down the middle. That's how it's actually supposed to look with the chain on there. But yeah, ours is kind of loose, and I don't know when we could get a sprocket or how it would be tearing this thing apart. So I actually talked to my dad and brother, and my dad suggested just drilling a hole straight through this thing and then just putting a bolt in it, and then we're actually going to kind of tack this thing back together. Hopefully just so the sprocket actually holds. Had to run over to my dad's quick and grab some decent drill bits, but as soon as I pulled in the yard, I lost power steering. And somewhere in here, I think I blew a line on this thing. I don't actually know what happened yet, but yeah, we're gonna have to get that fixed sometime too. But first, I want to get the fertilizer spreader fixed. Tried drilling a hole through the shaft, but it wouldn't even make a dent in that thing. So I did end up just pulling that whole sprocket off, and we're gonna have to try to find one somewhere. But yeah, you can see this one is just, yeah, cracked right in the middle there. And then the keyway is just absolutely fried as well. This morning I was working on my Dodge a little bit, trying to figure out where that power steering was leaking from while it was cold outside. But I think after lunch what we're gonna end up doing is trying to get these tires at least aired up or fixed on the Airseeder here. You can see we're kind of getting things set up. That way we can get this thing moved and actually just move it a little bit closer to the shop and the yard there. In case it does rain and snow a little bit more, I can still work on this thing. Before we get back to our tire job on the Airseeder, we're gonna actually move the auger out of the way so that way I can move the little belt conveyor into our fertilizer bin and then get some spreading done whenever I get the part for our spreader. Forgot to grab my phone stand, so we'll see if this angle works here. But right now we do have our jack jacked up, so our tire is sitting off the ground right now. And what we're gonna try to do is blow this tire back on the rim. Because yeah, right now it's not seated on the actual rim itself. Now we're gonna do that. I'm gonna take this guy, get our air hooked up here. I almost see the little soapy water too, but I forgot that as well. Take this thing, and this is our tire bead blaster. Take this guy, kind of shove him down in there, and then once I get it set anyway, hopefully this works. All we do. Hopefully that's set now. And it does seem like it's back on there now. So there we go. That's how we get the tire back on the rim. And now we just got to do the same thing on this other side too. Our next step's going to be hooking up the hydraulics on this thing. And if you're wondering, well, how do you know which hydraulic to hook up to where? Because there is a lot of spots to plug in hydraulics on this thing. And yeah, one's even on the side here too. But we do have some helpful things here. So you can see on this hose, we got this little green kind of, I don't even know what you'd call it, marker type thing. And you can see it's actually got a little tiny hydraulic ram there, and it's pointing into the ram itself. So if we look underneath these little green covers here, and yeah, these are just our hydraulic covers, so we can actually open those like that. And then underneath each one, you can see there's a little hydraulic ram. So this one's got the arrow pointing towards the hydraulic ram, which looks a whole lot like that one. So that means this thing is going to be going in here once I hit it with a little starter fluid to kind of clean everything off, and then we'll spray a little starter fluid inside the hole as well. We should just about be ready to move this thing. I think what we're actually going to do here, take this little switch, that's actually for our disc height. Hopefully you guys can see this, but we're just going to double check, make sure our discs move up and down and we can get them up into that locked position for transportation here. Already found one problem. Looks like that tire is no longer on the rim. And actually on the other side we have the same exact issue. Time for one of my least favorite jobs with seating, and that is greasing this thing. So each of these discs have 3 grease zerks. So we got one here, we got one kind of way down there, and then actually this other one's kind of hidden. We have to change our depth. So that's actually what that thing does, is that actually controls the depth of each disc. But this other one's kind of underneath and back in there. So we actually have to move that thing for each one of these just to get to that grease zerk. And then we got to do that same thing on each of these discs, and there's quite a few of them. And not only do we have this row, we also have this front row as well to do. So it's definitely a large project and lots of grease. And usually it's like 2 or 3 things of grease. Well, I can see our chemical coming down the road over there, but right now we're doing a quick little job change because we got a new tire for our disc here, and the boss is gonna take the disc out tomorrow and go knock down some of the trenches that the water caused in the fields. And there goes the Flexicoil. It's not every day I get to actually watch things moving. It's actually really weird for me watching some of this equipment move when I'm not in it. So a special thank you to my dad. He actually had to go to Great Falls today, so he was able to get us parts for that fertilizer spreader truck. So hopefully we can get this thing going again tonight. A nice sight to see. We got the spinners fixed, so we're gonna go get a little spreading done here. So I started spreading right there on the edge of the field, then we made it about 25 feet and I got stuck in the mud. What a fun way to kind of end things off here. Yeah, it's about 6:30 at night too. I would love to be having dinner right now, but I wanted to get this fertilizer spreading done before it started snowing or raining or whatever's happening down there. So now I guess we'll just wait for my uncle to show up with the tractor so I can get pulled out of here. There comes the boss with the New Holland to come save me. Well, thanks to the boss for getting us pulled out of that little mud hole there, but I think we're gonna go find a drier field to go spread on. It's trying to snow here this morning, so it's a good time to take the truck here, and we're actually gonna run to the elevator and get rid of the chickpeas that we have on this truck. I think we might just have winter forever at this point. Down here by Conrad, Montana, and it's looking extra wintry over here. Yeah, I don't think these guys are gonna be seeding this week. I just saw a semi coming down the road, which means our fertilizer is just about here and ready to go in the bin. There goes the fertilizer into the bin. Well, I don't think we're gonna be getting any seeding done today. However, the steers do still need to eat. So every morning now we do have to give them a couple gallons of their feed here. Morning, kitty. There you go, guys. Enjoy your breakfast, and I'm gonna go into the shop and warm up. And it's good I have a couple jobs I can get caught up in the shop here, because we did find out what's wrong with the Dodge here. So this is actually our automatic transmission cooler line here. And you can see this bottom one, it does not kind of rotate or move. But this top one, however, it kind of rotates here. So the crimp is actually going bad on the connection here. So we're gonna actually have to get some new hoses, and we can't just get one hose, we actually have to get 2 of them. So yeah, we gotta spend $150 so we're not spraying transmission fluid everywhere. It's still cold out, but you can see most of the snow melted out here. But also today we got a new vehicle for checking the pivots this summer. Our new vehicle for checking the pivots is this 2000 Geo Tracker. This is actually my grandpa's old Geo Tracker, and he doesn't drive it much anymore, so he told us we could use it on the farm. And honestly, it's actually gonna work out pretty decently for being a nice pivot checking vehicle, because there is lots of room for stuff in here. We got a back seat we can throw tools in, and it does have 4-wheel drive as well. We got the brand new transmission cooler lines here. This is actually gonna be a way easier job than I thought it was gonna be. So I actually have everything unhooked on the top here, and got everything pulled out from the bottom as well. So now we just need to pull this thing out of here and throw the new one in. So we got the new stuff in here, but I like to keep the plastic on, especially when I'm doing anything with hoses, just to keep any dirt out. So I'll pull the plastic off and we'll get stuff hooked up here. We got the lines hooked back up to the transmission, and it's definitely about the cleanest thing on the pickup right now, that's for sure. Definitely use a little wash, but I did run this thing with the transmission in neutral for a few minutes and let the transmission kind of warm up, and it doesn't look like we got any leaks, so I think we're good to go again. Another slower day around here, so I've actually just been running stuff through the shop and changing the oil. So I changed the oil on the 4-wheeler this morning. I made a giant mess. But right now we're just checking some things over on the service pickup, cleaning stuff inside the cab out, and gonna get everything greased while we have it in here. Ended off Friday doing a little greasing on the Airseeder out here. We're making progress, kind of slowly anyways. But also we did get the Summers disc greased over there, because my uncle's going to be trying to get a little disking done tomorrow. Just kind of working out some of the spots that got trenched out by the water. It's a bit tough for you guys to see, but it is snowing again now, which is just wonderful. Got a little bit of a convoy this morning, so the boss is behind me with the disc, and he's going to do a little disking, and I'm going to do a little spread. Well, we're spreading. Boss is disking away out there. got finished on this field up by the ridge here. However, the next field we have to go to is actually down there. So you can actually see there's kind of a little trees and some vehicles and stuff down there. And that's the next field we have to go to, except the boss said it's pretty muddy, so I think we're gonna be done spreading and switch back to another job now. And for any of you guys that are new to the channel too, so on the other side of this fence here, you can see this is actually one of the neighbor's pastures. And the poor pastures got absolutely annihilated, maybe slightly overgrazed this last year too, because we had just a terrible drought last year up here in Montana. And yeah, lots of pastures got pretty tore up. I think we definitely had two different leaks on the Hemi here. So that crimp was definitely bad on that transmission cooler line, but after I took it out this morning to go check some fields, it was losing coolant all over the place. So I definitely have a coolant leak as well too. And it looks like the coolant is maybe leaking out of the water pump. This thing does have 150,000 miles on it too, and it's all pretty much original stuff, so it could definitely be the water pump giving out. Not a bad way to end Saturday. So I actually just did a live stream. I think streamed for an hour and a half or so, and got everything greased up on the Airseeder today. And then during that live stream, we were actually getting a bunch of tires blew back on the rim, because I think we had about 5 tires or 6 that were off the rim. So yeah, we had to get all those on, but this one, the very last one we actually did, is still leaking, so you can actually hear it leaking just right around here. So we're just gonna pull this guy off, and I think that might kind of wrap up Saturday for us. To end off the weekend, I'm gonna start working on pulling the Hemi apart here. I've never actually had to take the water pump off of a Hemi before, so I have no idea if it's easy or if it's a hard job or what. But we did just kind of back it into the American shed here. Got it kind of between Grandpa's RV and the old John Deere S780. So at least it's gonna be kind of out of the way. I didn't want to take up the whole shop, and there's no heat in here, but it is out of the wind, which is kind of the big thing I was looking for.